On December 19th, 1919, a new comic strip was published in the New York Journal, titled Thimble Theater. Created by American cartoonist E.C. Segar, the strip focused on the Oil family, Cole and Nana Oil, along with their children, Olive and Castor. For 10 years, Thimble Theater was published with mostly moderate success. But in 1929, a new character was introduced that changed the course of the strip forever. His name was Popeye. Segar had only meant for Popeye to be a supporting character in one particular storyline, but readers immediately fell in love with the wisecracking sailor, and once the story was concluded, fans wrote in requesting Segar to bring Popeye back. It was not long afterwards that Popeye became the main focus of the strip. A slew of new characters were created as well, including J. Wellington Wimpy, Popeye's father Poop Deck Pappy, Little Sweepy, and Popeye's arch-nemesis, Bluto. Max Fleischer was a huge fan of the comic strip, and soon negotiated the rights to bring Popeye to animation. In 1933, Popeye made his theatrical debut in a Betty Boop cartoon called Popeye the Sailor. At the time, Betty Boop was Fleischer Studios' most popular character, so using the cartoon as a pilot for Popeye seemed like a good pitch. And it worked. Popeye immediately branched out into his own cartoon series and became an instant superstar. Throughout the 30s, Popeye outsold Mickey Mouse, and his preference of spinach encouraged kids to eat more vegetables. Not a bad idea, but why spinach? In 1870, German chemist Ulrich von Wolf ascertained that spinach has 3.5 milligrams of iron per 100 grams serving. But while transcribing his notes, the decimal point was accidentally misplaced, instead recording that spinach had 35 milligrams of iron. The error was later discovered long after Popeye made his debut. So by the time the correction was made, spinach had already become Popeye's signature trademark. In no time at all, Fleischer Studios began releasing one Popeye cartoon every month. The funniest moments, as well as one of the main attractions, were the physical comedy. Seeing all sorts of hilariously clever ways that Popeye would take out Bluto and the rest of his enemies. John Kricfalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, referred to these stunts as funny beatings. By 1936, Popeye had reached the peak of his popularity with his first colored cartoon. At number 17, we have Popeye the Sailor meets Sinbad the Sailor. It sounded like an exciting matchup, one of the greatest sailors of cinema going up against one of the greatest sailors of literature? You can bet people were hyped. And the cartoon did not disappoint. The story takes place on the Isle of Sindbad, where we meet Bluto in the role of the legendary sailor. After singing about how great he is and all the creatures he's captured on his adventures, he receives unexpected guests. Popeye and friends approach the island, which provokes Sinbad into challenging Popeye for the hand of Olive and the title of the greatest sailor in the world.
Who are you?
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Who are you?
Who am I?
You heard what I
Who
said.
am I?
That's what I said.
Why?
Of course, you can't have one of the greatest sailors of fiction without taking advantage of referencing some of his adventures. The most notable reference is the giant rock. But Sinbad also references the Isle of Serpents, where he found diamonds on his second voyage, and at one point Sinbad claims that he built his fortress on the back of a whale, referencing the whale that was mistaken for an island on his first voyage. Oh yeah, Wimpy's in this cartoon as well, in a rather pointless role, I must say. Fun fact, Wimpy was voiced by Lou Fleischer, the brother of Dave and Max Fleischer and the head of Fleischer Studios' music department. First off, this cartoon is a spectacle to behold. The animation looks just as great today as it did back then. One thing that makes this cartoon stand out is the 3D backgrounds. The style was achieved through a technique known as the setback camera. The studio constructed a three-dimensional set piece and placed them on a 12-foot cylinder turntable mounted in front of an animation camera. Between the camera and the turntable, animated cells were placed vertically on a glass plate and shot frame by frame. The set was rotated incrementally one shot at a time, so that the foreground props moved at different speeds than the background elements, giving a realistic sense of dimension. Another thing is that this cartoon feels huge. The scale is so much larger that you can tell that a higher budget went into this. The cartoon was advertised as Popeye's first feature, even though it was only 17 minutes long, twice as long as an original Popeye cartoon. Because of this cartoon success, Fleischer Studios released 2 sequels. Popeye the Sailor Meets Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves in 1937, and Aladdin and His Wonderful Lamp in 1939. But Popeye Meets Sinbad is the most famous of the trilogy. Legendary special effects artist Ray Harryhausen credited the cartoon as an inspiration when he worked on the 7th voyage of Sinbad in 1958. This short was also the only Popeye cartoon to get nominated for an Academy Award, but unfortunately lost to Walt Disney's The Country Cousin. That being said, it doesn't mean that the short isn't a winner in our hearts.